All right, everyone, we are back with round 6 of the Sydney Regionals. All our undefeated players are now 5-0. We're getting into the latter half of the day. I'm keen to see some games. Kevin, are you keen to see some games?
I'm keen to see some games. I got about 4 more in me, so that's good. That's good.
That's the right amount of games you got in you. Let's get right into these players. All right, it looks like these players are all set up. We have GP Luffy here versus Blackbeard.
Very interesting matchup. A lot of the GP cards are the searches. A lot of the cards do have the on-play effects. A lot of them don't, though. It is very interesting. A lot of the searches will be not used or can't be used. It is interesting to see when the Blackbeard does start using that leader effect. It does have like a diminishing return against this deck. A lot of the on plays don't really matter later on in the game. So it'd be interesting to see at what point he does start discarding. Whether he starts doing from turn 1 is like, I don't want you to have the consistency. I'm using it now. No searches. GP did go first, and he did not play a searcher, which is a good sign, I guess, for the Blackbeard players. Like, okay, maybe I don't need to start using this leader effect, because it is -1 every turn to then essentially stop your opponent from having any on-play skills. But it does come at a cost, so you will slowly lose cards from hand. So we do see just the 5k swing coming through. You essentially just need to keep the pressure on. Against Blackbeard, you always just need to keep this pressure on. We do see the 3-cost Uzuhachi coming down. That is not the rest Uzuhachi, that is the other Uzuhachi. So that is the one that we're bringing up right now, because I've forgotten what it does. I think it is from...
It's from OP05. It's an old one. It does a very similar thing to the rest one. However, it's when attacking instead of on play, and it's also a 2k, so it's a pretty cool card. We see Blackbeard do a top 3 search, going to add a Blackbeard Pirates card to his hand. So either that Stronger or the Kuzan. Kuzan, a very strong card, as we saw. But one of the crazy things about this matchup is last game that we watched, it was Black versus GP, and GP was able to out-sustain Lucci. And with Blackbeard having to discard a card every turn, that could be really rough for Blackbeard if GP is sustaining so well. However, when GP starts discarding a card every turn, the GP's not drawing cards, so it doesn't have the option to do this sustainment. So it's pretty much going to be the complete opposite of the last game, which was a grind fest, just, you know, doing value for each and every card. In this game, it's like, you use a card, that's -1 in your hand size. You're not getting that card back. The only way you get cards is draw for turn and draw off life. And that's about it. So it'll be really interesting to see the difference between what we had last game versus what we have this game.
Yeah, 100%. Blackbeard does put your opponents on a clock as well. Once you get to that point of, I'm not losing the game, I'm just going 10-drop Blackbeard, 10-drop Blackbeard. Well, I've got 2 12k blockers. What are you really going to do about it now? So it is definitely, the grind is still there, but it's very much like GP definitely feels like it's on... It's on that bit of a time here. We do see the new 1-drop blocker come down from the Blackbeard. Essentially, 1-drop blocker, 2k, kind of busted. Bad effect, though. On play, trash 2 cards in your hand. Luckily, your leader says, I have no on-play effects. So it's kind of like, that's free. So a very good addition to this Blackbeard deck, 2k, which is essentially the best blocker they can play in the deck is this card now. Only downside is not searchable and does not and can kind of like... When you need it, it's a lot harder to find, but just having it in your hand is often way better than the other ones.
For sure. It looks like Lee, our Blackbeard player, wants to take a couple of these early swings so they have options for the removal. Yutan looks like he is on 5-Don. This is normally the turn you kind of want to start playing Sanji Puddings, but it looks like he only has 1, maybe 2 Sanji Puddings in his hand and not much else besides counter and 2Ks. So he's really thinking... I don't think we saw the leader effect, but with me having more Don than my opponent, I'm not even getting this draw off the Sanji Pudding. So do I want to use it now? Like, is this actually a good time? Is his board just too set up? Like, if a Laboon comes down, my Doku's just dead. I don't have a stage. It's a bit rough, but it looks like Yutan's going, no, you know what, no. We're just playing the Sanji Pudding. We're going to force him to remove it. Yep. We're going to force him to have the answer. and then take it from there.
Yeah, 100%. It is definitely a risk at this point. Having no stage turn 1 was a huge miss for this specific scenario. It could be a 7 right now, and 7's pretty unattainable, especially this early on for Blackbeard. But 5 is a pretty reasonable number to hit. You've already got the Dock U on board. All you need is that minus effect. And it's pretty reasonable to be able to find that through multiple different cards. It may cost you a few cards, but if the Sanji Pudding is the only card on the field, then it can be a bit rough. We do see the minus come out, though. Back up to the 4 Don with 3 active. Swinging, so attached to the Don, we'll get the effect. We'll get to...
Only
8 or more. 8 or
you
more.
need 8 or more,
Thank
Don.
you. I remember last week.
Hard for GP to get to that 8 or more, Don.
Yes.
But...
Sorry, the cards used to be balanced by having multiple ways to do it. Now, not as much so, but yeah, you know, still swinging for 7. You just need to put the pressure on Blackbeard. You need to go, okay, by the time you get to your first 10 cost, I need you to be on 1 or even the 0 life. So then the next turn, it doesn't matter if my board is a bunch of weenies. These are all threats to you.
For sure, and the smart thing that U10 is doing is he's going, look, my hand is counter. I'm going to abuse the fact my hand is counter. Even though this Usahachi is a 4K, he only really has a 1 swing to throw at me, and I'm just going to give him another 2K. Like, look how many of them I've got in my hand. I've got 3 2Ks in hand. I'm chilling. Just, yeah, have this Usahachi. I don't need it. I got 1 on board, and it's 4K instead of this 3K. That seems good to me. Now, Lee has to work to get removal rather than just a free swing.
Yep. So we do say paying 5. Might be a Kuzan coming down. It is the Kuzan. Missing... Oh, we do see the Van Auger coming down. Yep. Just grabbing the wrong card from his hand, looking at the option. That's okay. Sometimes mistakes happen like that. So doing the Van Auger will minus it down to a 2 cost. And do we see another way to get that last cost off?
Looks like we're going with the Stronger, which you get to rest it, trash a card from hand, and then draw a card and to reduce 2. So it's very much like Zero, except you get an extra cycle in there, which is really cool.
Yes. So, yeah, we do see the Dock U minus, removing that Sanji Pudding. Very pivotal turn for Lee here. Without that, I think it almost would have been a snowball effect from this point. So definitely stabilizing a little bit at this point. It's still a little bit worrying. You do have the blocker. You've still got 5 cards in hand. Still don't think we did see the leader effect come down by discarding that Kuzan. So no one plays this turn at 6 Don. It is a little bit of a weird turn now, especially not having that backup Sanji Pudding.
I think he had 1 more in hand, but he won't get the draw off it. I think the big thing with U10's hand is there's not many searches. There's not many ways to see extra cards, especially now that our lead effects from Blackbeard is starting to come down. It's very much top deck mode. Even if he top decks a searcher, he won't be able to use it. And I don't see a 6 cost rush Luffy. And that's normally how we want to win this game. Is we get them low and we just go, all right, Luffy, whack, whack. But with no Luffy, no whack.
Yes.
So it will be quite interesting for U10 to figure out how he wants to close the game, because he can attach a lot of Don and swing a lot of ways. But at the end of the day, if Lee has 1 blocker on field and U10 can only swing with his leader, he's not winning the game.
Yeah, 100%. Especially because he wants to get to that 8 Don level for this Usahachi on the board. You can't really afford to minus Don too many turns in a row while not getting that pressure in. So it is a decision of, do I just swing for 6 with my leader, potentially play out this next Sanji Pudding and just say, okay, do it again, essentially. He does need to find another 1 minus because he does have the 3 on the board, but it's a very rough position to be in for Yuta now. Actually, like that 1 turn just swung the momentum back into Lee's favor, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And Yuta now going, all right, if I don't swing into leader and I swing into one of these bodies and he lets it die because he has another copy of the card, then he just gets to draw a card, and I didn't get a card out of his hand, and that was kind of rough. But also, if I let them live, and he still has another copy, well, I just get snowballed even more. So he kind of has to swing into the card, but he also doesn't want to because he's on a clock, because if Blackbeard stabilizes, it's really scary. We'll see the 7K swing in to face come down. A 5-card hand from Lee going down to 3 is kind of scary. So it'll be interesting to see what he chooses. I believe Yutan has 3 Don left. We see the Caribou blocker come down. Lee wants to stay on that 2 life total. Doesn't want to go too low. We might see another 7K swing come down from the Usahachi.
We could also just see the Usahachi swing into the Dock U and be like, okay, show me another Dock U. There is no field from the Blackbeard side. There is the miss of that. So it means you don't get that free cycle every turn of like, okay, I can dig 3 cards deeper for the card I need. So it is maybe you just say, I want to play some ball control, but we do just see the 7 into lead. I'm like, he's decided I'm racing you. You can move this Sanji Pudding, but you're just going to run out of resources eventually.
For sure, but we did see a really good card from Lee in that hand, and I wonder if he's going to play it this turn, which looked like the life he took was the new 6-cost Kuzan blocker, which I think is a really good card in this situation. On KO, play up to 1 Blackbeard Pirates type cards with a cost of 5 or less from your trash rested. So you have options, right? You can play off that 5-cost Kuzan, and that doesn't get removed. You get a draw again the next turn, so it's like a blocker that replaces itself. But the big important thing with this Kuzan is the fact it's just a blocker. It can then get the Kuzan, and then the Kuzan can get something else again later on, which is pretty crazy. Or you can just like skip the middle step of the Kuzan, go straight into a Van Orga because it has more power, so it might not get swung into. But that Kuzan could be very strong for Lee if he wants to go down that route this turn, but he still needs that 1 extra cost of removal. Be very interesting whether he just wants to maintain cards in hand, does something like, okay, I'll play 5-cost Kuzan to go into my 1-cost Stronger. That's in the discard, because like I really want my cost reduction this turn to remove that Sanji Pudding. If he does that, he can attach other more Don onto his leader, swing 6. So it's not actually the worst line. However, it does very much leave himself open to a Rush Luffy swing plus leader, maybe a lethal angle that way from Yutan. So Lee's got to be very meticulous in how he wants to clear the board this turn and what he wants to prioritize versus what he wants to just, maybe it's not worth the value that I'm losing to remove the card.
Yeah, 100%. We do see him just thinking here. This is the kind of thing he's just thinking, how do I get to this 10 Don turn in the best spot possible? Because he knows once he gets there, can start blanking Sanji Puddings. Even if there's a rush out, you just go, okay, I can't attack, has no skills, and you can kind of just stabilize from that. We do see 2 in hand of the 10 costs. I think if he gets to that point of going back-to-back 10 costs and there's no answer or lethal from U10 side, I think it is a very favorable spot. So it's just, how do I get there? We do see another Stronger in hand. It does let him cycle something else, and it's really good. I do probably just see the Blackbeard, into those archers, like, okay, provide me another 2k, please, sir.
Very interesting. I think Lee is on 8 Don, if I am correct. So very interesting that he thinks that his line is going to take all 8 of his Don, which means, because being able to swing 6 into that Usahachi would have been a very pivotal decision if it was what he was able to do. We are going to see Usahachi get cleared by the Doc Q, but I think what I saw in his hand was a 7-cost Teach, which is one of the other new cards from the starter deck. Teach, of course, being one of the decks that got support in the structure deck. But this 7-cost Teach is able to KO a 3 or less. It looks like Lee might go for it. He's picking up all his Don. Being able to KO 3 or less is really good. And then on KO, adding a black card from your trash to your hand, also very strong. But a board of 3 cards to none is kind of rough for Yutan. He's able to kind of just swing big with leader this turn, take Lee down to 0 life and try for something later in the game. I'm not sure, Kevin, was the leader effect used that turn by Blackbeard?
It was not, no. So we will be able to see the on-plays come down. It is interesting, though. I don't know if Lee minds going to 0 with this board. It is very scary because a lot of attacks come through, but he knows he's on 10 Don next turn. If we do just see the swing big this turn, it's like, okay, you have no board. Like, if I stabilize and you can't push my board now, I just get to win the game, essentially. So we do see the Zoro, because that leader effect was not used, Lee just going, I can't give you any of these cards. I need this counter. I need both of these 10 drops to be able to close out this game. You can have your searches now. If you search, it means you're not swinging into me for big numbers. I'm perfectly fine with that. I definitely think that was the heads-up play from Lee to go, okay, we can take the turn off. You can generate resources, it's fine. It's better for me in the long term.
For sure, and between the Doc Q and the Van Orga and the Teach, I mean, the Van Orga plus the Teach removes a 6 cost every turn, right? So that's removing the Rush Luffy. But if Lee isn't able, if Yutan isn't able to develop multiple bodies, it could just, like, if it's just the Zoro, it's just Van Orga, Doc Q, and then we get swing with the Teach. So it is very interesting from Lee's side. Looks like we're going the merry-go. We're going, all right, I want to be able to make it a little bit harder for you to remove my board. So And it's also just another consistency piece, right? Like, this is the best time to play the card because you're not getting on plays probably again after this. Lee probably just needs that one turn of going, you know what, I just need one more card and I can discard again next turn after you get your searches. Because once you use your searches, then you don't have enough Don to do the on plays on the other cards.
Yeah, 100%. No Sanji Pudding again. Lee's probably very happy to see that. He does have to try and remove another one, plus of all this hijinks. So I think we might just see a big swing come through into life with whichever Don he's not going to be using. So
for sure, looking at Lee's hand, he very well might want to go, if I can just like use my board. Oh, no, he's discarding 3 cards from hand. I thought he might try and go for something along the lines of, I'll take this, I'll play my Kuzan blocker plus a Lafitte and just like remove board that way. But no, we'll see what Lee decides to do. He has a clean remove on one of them. I'm not sure which of the Sanji or Zoroark was buffed from the Marigo. But either way, one of them gets clean removed with the Van Augur plus the Teach. And then Tendrils just going to stun the other one.
Yeah, 100%. This is a very nice position. You give up all these cards in hand, but you go, I'm at 1 life. I now have a blocker. I have all these cards. When you remove them, they draw me cards anyway. So my things on board are very sticky. Essentially, I don't want to give you the cards. It's fine. They can stay there forever. So we do see that come through, and we'll probably just see a pass from here. The leader is 6k. We'll just go, okay, go next turn, and you go, no leader effect. I don't think there's any need to anymore. It's like, yeah, sure, you can search now. It's fine. I don't really mind anymore. I have a blocker. I have 2 cards in hand. I guess there is some... Try and do the quick math in my head. If both those cards, if all cards are dead, potentially he has lethal, but it's a very risky to go for that lethal because if you don't get there, you're with Lee's Yutan's hand. He has 1/0 cost event. I think 1/2k. It's very hard to survive the turn after that.
For sure, we see another Marigo come down, a quick draw, and probably a quick buff. Unfortunately, Teach doesn't care about what cost it is. You could play all 4 Marigos this turn and make it that Zoro a 12 cost. Teach will still just go, yeah, I'll negate skills. It can't attack.
Yep.
So Yutan definitely needs to develop something else. Otherwise, another Teach is kind of just the end of the Smori story. Very smart, swinging 5, trying to bait out that block, but Lee's not falling for it. Even though U-turn, I don't think has the 6 cost. Like, I don't think anything would have happened if Lee went for the block, but swinging with it before slamming the 7 cost is very important. Because if it's a block, and we know what Lee's last card in hand, it's dead. It's the 10 cost. So we know what it is. We do see the stun from Electric Luna. Very, very heads up play. Frankie comes down, which should be able, I think, to get a Don back. I'm not sure. We'll see the Marigo protect the Frankie. So we have a 5 and a 6. And then we see Lee start his next turn. He has 2 cards in hand.
See the biggest difference here? That 7-drop Teach is not Jack. It is not an 11 cost. It is staying stunned by the Electric Luna. So we will just probably see the poke come down. I don't imagine we'll see a block with this 10 cost Teach here. I think it's a little bit risky. That's just a ramp. I think that's just a ramp 1 inactive card. So many of the purple cards do various things, but they all, most of the time that is ramp 1 and 1 Don in active mode or in rest mode, some of them do. So just using that to just go, okay, well, this card is not helping me this turn, it's not going to help me turn after. I might as well just get to 10 and have maximum amount of damage next turn.
For sure. Thinking whether to stun the Zoroark or the Frankie. I think from Lee's point of view, he's like, I don't really care about the power, it's just whether the effects are strong. Frankie does have a strong effect to get a Don back, which U10 likes all his Don. It wants all his Don, but looking at that hand, that's a bit rough from U10. It's 2 Gum Gum Giants and a 0 cost event. We see no more swings. U10 top stack. A Frankie, not ideal. I wouldn't be surprised if we just saw like a 15k jam. I'm a force you to take this life. And maybe not 15k because we want the
13k. So leave up the 2 for the 2 in hand,
Gum Gum, or even just leave 1 up because maybe that's enough because he's got the 0 cost event as well. So if he draws dead cards, he's pretty safe. And swinging 9 is good. Like attaching 9 is good because that's 14. That's 2 cards out of Lee's 1 card hand, which isn't possible.
Yes.
So he either has to take or he has to block with the Teach.
The problem is, I think he just dies next turn as Utah.
I think you're probably right, especially if Lee just takes it. I think he's probably dead, but I don't think Yutan has many options. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is a 13k swing and then try and defend through the 212 cost teachers. And go for game during your next turn, because 2 Gum Gum Giants is strong. Like, don't get me wrong, it is definitely strong. We'll protect the Zoro because we have equal amounts of Don, and we'll see what happens. Maybe we go like 6 with Zoro to see if we can get...
It cannot attack.
It cannot attack.
It cannot attack.
We might.
It was chosen by the 10 cost. He does have those 2 swings, but unless you're swinging above 12, it is just a free block. There are 2 attacks, there's 2 blockers. It's such a tough situation for Utah to be in right now. I don't see any lines that, other than just going big, like you said, with the leader and just leaving the defense up, and just maybe Lee doesn't think he can end the game and goes for another turn and then gives you another turn to draw into the Luffy. But I do feel like this 6 will just be blocked by a teacher.
Yeah, for sure. And it doesn't leave you enough Don for your Luffy swing to be all that strong. You can put 7 and leave 1 Don in active, which just isn't enough, I don't think. I think, especially that if that 1 card in hand is a counter, I think Lee is pretty safe for just defending the teacher and going for game next turn. But the other thing is, if Lee blocks this, and then there's a 6 cost rush Luffy, this could be scary, right? So that's what Lee has to think. Lee has to think, okay, with the rush Luffy and Yutan, very smart, 6 2 Don to put back. He's
always the mind games.
Very smart with those mind guys, separating those Don. We know he doesn't have it, but those guys up there do not know. We see the take come down from Lee, 2 cards in hand. Now, if Luffy was there, it would be... Oh, gosh, it would be a 7-7-8 for lethal. So Lee would need
a 2 and a 1.
A 2 and a 1, which is
out of it.
Pretty much perfect. Off 2 random cards, the draw 4 turn plus whatever was the life, which I think Yutan would have it, but not off all those searches. The Zoro, the Nami, a couple Marigos, not seeing a single 6 cost, and plus a draw off the Sanji Pudding. That's very rough not to see 6 cost.
I think at this point you kind of a bit annoyed, like, yeah, I would have won the game, but you have to just do what you can. I guess you can almost bait it again and go, I'm gonna just swing 6 again. Do something about this. And you go, I have to, you have to at least make Lee think. And maybe he does make a misplay here. But unfortunately, I think at this point, especially with Yutan's hand, I actually don't know if he has a playable card in hand.
He has the Frankie.
He has the Frankie.
I don't think it's doing anything. And besides that, it's just Gum Gum Giants. If we see...
Maybe he keeps all the Don open and goes, if I draw into my last 2 Gum Gum Giants, I have a dream.
That's fair.
That is kind of the out right now. We just go, I have to draw like a god and pray that it's good enough.
And then at the same time, Lee goes, all right, well, I've got everything. I can just leave my 2... Like, if I can play another blocker, have my 2 teachers, clear his board, I mean, I can play for another turn.
Yeah.
Right? If Lee has another blocker at his disposal, he can 100% play for another turn, which is kind of crazy to think about.
This is definitely the mind game levels of One Piece where it's like, oh, like Utah knows 100% he's dead. If he just goes 12, 12, 15, 8, 6, it's like, it's over. But if I just do this and go, yeah, okay, cool, go for it, I'm down. You put that doubt into your opponent, like why is he doing this? Like, this doesn't seem... Like, this seems too easy for me now. Like, what is happening? What don't I understand? And you get into these, like, level wars of, like, okay, how do I sequence this so my worst-case scenario doesn't mean I lose? So it probably comes down to, okay, what are my numbers to swing with for Van Orga, for Teach, with the leader? Is that good enough where if these connect, do I survive? Or do I actually have to just go all in? Or do I have another line and play for another turn? It's a very interesting situation. I actually really like the way Utah has approached the situation of, like, a lot of players who just go, scoop, it's over. But you gotta make your opponent make the correct play. It's not always just straightforward. Like, having this much dominance, especially against purple, is always so scary. Go, like, if they just have it, do I not get there?
No, for sure. And the funny thing is, what you said at the start, 12, 12, 15, 8, 6, I don't even think that's lethal. Because you just take the two 12s and then you just give two Gum Gums for the 15. You have it 6 cards in hand to get out of the 8 and the 6. And if you draw another Gum Gum, you're chilling. You are 100% chilling.
That is true. He did not use leader effect, so he's not a 6k base. He's a 5k base, so it is slightly worse in that respect. Maybe there's a world he should have done the minus just so he could become a 6k and go, well, I'm drawing back up to 10 anyway, it doesn't really matter. And then every attack is effectively like I'm getting 1 free K counter from every attack. Maybe a slight Yutan being not thinking through fully what all of his options were in that sense. But definitely this is more of less math and more the mind game part of One Piece, where it's like, yeah, there's so many options, but like, what am I doing? This is like, you just sit there and go, I don't know anymore. Normally One Piece is just math, and now it's like, what is my read? What is happening?
For sure. Maybe the reason he didn't want to go for leader effect was he knows he's playing at least 2 Gum Gum Giants, so going back down that far could be very scary, Don-wise. However, when you're like going, I mean, this is it, right? This is all, I need to survive this turn. That's my win on, is survive the turn. It's probably still right, because even if he goes all the way back down to 4, he still goes to 6. When he gets his Don back, he's still able to play the 6-cost Luffy, and then he's still able to use leader effect to get 2 Don inactive. So he's still able to do kind of everything he needs to do if he minuses 6 Don over the next little bit, but it does mean he wouldn't be able to play a 3rd Gum Gum Giant if he drew into it.
Yeah, I think there is definitely a world where we see like a safer play from Lee, where he just goes, rest Van Augur, KO Zoroark with the Teach, swing leader into the Frankie, keep my 2 blockers up, and then poke you down to 1 life and go, okay, this is it. I am definitely killing you the turn after. There is no mind games anymore. You have to show me the out now.
For sure. But even that, right? Like, you're resting your Van Augur and your Teach to clear the Zoroark. You only really, I mean, you have to swing a decent number on the Blackbeard over the Frankie to kill it, because otherwise it's like, all right, I'm just going to use my Gum Gum Giants and just overprotect this card because I need swings. And then every time you turn and Teach sideways, you go, well, sorry. That's one less
true.
blocker.
Yeah.
So at least kind of in this real awkward spot that if all of his, let's just say all of his hands counter, right? Because we've got no clue what Lee's hand is. He has to use just his board. And his board should be enough to kill Purple Luffy. But that's the thing. It's Purple Luffy, right?
It's Purple Luffy. Gum Gum Giant. Pretty good card. There's a reason the best decks in the meta are called Purple Luffy plus friends. It's literally just... So we do see the first swing come through into leader here. It is for a clean 11.
Very, very big number. We see Yutan take it. No triggers. Man, an Electric Luna trigger would go crazy right now.
I don't know what that does. Can you please inform me?
Electric Luna trigger, rest one of your opponent's characters.
Oh, that would be brutal in this instance.
That would be a very strong... Now, Yutan kind of thinking, all right, this is a 9k swing. I probably need to get out of this one. Maybe I take it. I'll see all my options. Maybe because he definitely wants the teachers to be sideways. Man, if this man
on stream, he's like, there's the boy. I needed him.
Just showing the options to Lee, going, man, that's 1 card off. You know, if I had this last turn, is this over? Or thinking to grab it, or maybe I just need the 1k. I mean, he has enough cards to discard, and he has a 0 cost, so it's kind of fine to grab that, right? Because he has to discard 3 cards, and he has no dead cards in hand.
Yeah.
So, like, I understand what he's going for. We're going 9k into life. This will be our first Gum Giant. So he has to get out of 9, 12, 12 with a 6-card hand. Any other deck besides Purple Luffy doing it? No. Man, he legitimately just grabbed that 6-cost Luffy to go, you know what? You weren't here for me, so you're not playing the rest of this game. You're going to the discard.
No.
Was that 2 6-cost Luffys?
One of them's a manga as well.
Oh, no. That is as rough as you could possibly get. We see a 12k sync come down. Another Gum Gum Giant discarding another Gear 2. Man, if I was Yutan, I would not be a very happy chappy.
Oh, no.
Draw 2. I think that's 2
I think
dead
it was another
cards.
it was a dead card and another Gum Gum Giant potentially.
So we're at 9, and now we go to
12 up to 14.
I think that's 13, so he's safe. 1 last swing, 12k at life, and 2 dead cards. Yutan is not happy, and I do not blame him.
All
of his draws were the 6-cost Luffy right after. And that's as rough as it can kind of get, right?
Yep.
That 6-cost Luffy was what he needed to win, and he had it for the top deck. If Lee decided not to go for game, that was probably game on Yutan's side,
Yep.
which is crazy. It's unfortunate, but that's kind of what we see in card games.
That's One Piece, baby.
That is a One Piece. But both these players played amazingly well. And let's quickly jump back into the booth.
That was a nail biter. It was right down to the end there. Like you said, it was almost enough. If he just drew more Gum Gum Giants, he had the Don there available. That's all he needed to do. If he hits one more, potentially draws into more 2Ks, but just seeing the 3 6-cost Luffy's come on the top, oh, you hate to see that. The first one is like, where were you? The next one, oh yeah. The third one, the manga, is like, I hate this card.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely really rough because one more Gum Gum Giant could have drawn him into his 4th Gum Gum Giant. He left 7 non-open.
Yep.
And for all we know, he has some other sort of defensive event which he could have drawn into
Yeah,
to be
for
able to get more counter. But he was quite unfortunate in that circumstance. But Lee played really well. This is a very unfavorable matchup for Blackbeard. So for him to able to come out with a win, being 6-0 going into round 7, one more win for Lee could be the guarantee of top 16 tomorrow. Normally 7-2 with high resistance has a pretty good chance of getting in there.
Going into undefeated, you got the pretty high resistance, I would say. Yeah, we'll definitely get to the end where it's like every game definitely matters. Like if you're on these top tables, you can't be affording to every game means, okay, I can potentially make it now. So your mind is starting to drift. It's been a long day with 6 rounds in, but you got to stay sharp.
For sure. And these players now being 6-0 and 5-1, that's insanely difficult. So props to both of them. Now, I believe we have the meta breakdown for today for you guys. So let's quickly have a look at that. All right. So, Kevin, why don't you walk us through what we have here?
So yeah, as predicted, we have 20% on blue, purple, Luffy. By far, always the most popular deck. About 10% on green, purple. About almost 10% on black, purple, Luffy. So what's that? Almost 40% of the room is on a purple Luffy favored deck, and then another 5% with the normal Luffy as well. That is just showing the power of purple Luffy. Well, let's be real, it's the power of Gum Gum Giant. That card will just go, anything that seems unwinnable is actually just winnable because you just survive forever. Next, we have the Buggy down at 8.5%, followed by the Betty around the similar percentage. These newish decks that come in and want to kind of counter these top picks. So Bella Betty just coming in, smacking, just going fast, going quick, having favorable matchups in these blue, purple Leafies, and then potentially into these other decks. Buggy being this kind of new fresh deck that's one of the easiest decks to make, and it has such a high power level for how you can kind of just slam 2-star decks together for it. Makes sense to see this representation. And then we have purple Luffy, Jewelry Bonnie, your deck, GY Law, actually decent representation, 3.8%.
Yeah, could be better, could be worse.
Yep. Down to Teach and Yamato, Lucci, Smoker. Do you think there's anything missing from this list that you expected to see, Max?
Honestly, I expected a decent, at least more than 2.33% Zoro. I know in Australia, we love Zoro. Every time I've played a tournament, I feel like even if Zoro wasn't a deck that's playable in the meta, I always verse at least one. So kind of surprising to see after the support we got in EBO2, as well as the other really strong cards that Zoro has got recently from OP10, that we didn't see any Zoro. But that just shows how scared Zoro players are of this Buggy deck, even though it's only at 9%. So if you're playing 9 rounds, you're only expected to verse 1, if that. It's not even a decent... You got a little bit less than a chance of actually even versing 1, which is kind of crazy to think about. But what's even crazier about this, 45%, as you said, purple Luffy decks, but this doesn't include the other decks that could possibly run Gum Gum Giant. I know there's at least one Nico Robin out there, which is another purple deck that can run Gum Gum Giant, and I'm sure there's at least one person who decided, nah, I'm not going to Blue P, I'm sticking with the original 6K purple Luffy leader, sticking with RP Luffy. So there's probably a couple other decks that are running Gum Gum Giant, but it just shows how strong of a card that is. But that is the breakdown we have for you guys for today. And we'll have another one for top 16 tomorrow when we see what players make it in.
Yeah, sounds good. I think we've got a few minutes left until the next round here, so we'll go to a short break and we'll come back with round 7.